Hello and welcome. I am Pranay Upadhyay and you are watching Namaste World, your daily window into the biggest stories shaping India and the world. We begin in South Asia, where India quietly avoids President Trump's high-stake diplomatic traps as he exposes private message and hits close allies with tariffs. In Europe, Britain's once fading chimney sweep trade is making an unlikely comeback, driven by rising energy costs and a return to traditional heating. In North America, President Donald Trump withdraws Canada's invitation to his Board of Peace after Prime Minister Mark Carney's Davos speech criticizing tariffs and US power. But the biggest news of the day: Ukraine, Russia, and the United States hold their first trilateral security talks in Abu Dhabi on Friday and Saturday as the push for a war end deal grows. All that and more. Global flashpoints, power plays, and the stories that matter coming up in this edition of Namaste World. So stay tuned. In a major diplomatic push to end the war in Ukraine, Ukrainian, Russian, and American negotiators are holding their first ever trilateral security talks today in Abu Dhabi. This comes just one day after President Volodymyr Zelenskyy described a draft deal as nearly ready, saying that he, President Donald Trump, have agreed on post-war security guarantees, with the United Kingdom and France already committing forces on the ground. Ukrainian delegation is being led by Rostom Umerov and Lieutenant General Andrei Nato, while on the other side, the Russian delegation is being led by GRU Chief General Igor Kostovko, and the US delegation is being led by Special Envoy to President Donald Trump, Steve Witkoff, who recently held a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin on January 22nd. Kremlin advisor Yuri Ushakov called those discussions useful in every respect, adding Russia remains open to a political resolution but will continue fighting until one is reached. While details remain limited, President Zelenskyy said the talks will span 2 days. Meanwhile, deep divisions persist, especially over the territory exchange and the territory control, as Russia holds about 20% of the Ukrainian territory and demands full control over Donbas region. Fresh Russian strikes have left much of Kyiv without power or heat in freezing temperatures. Strikes Kyiv calls war crimes aimed at civilians. US President Donald Trump has sent shockwaves through America's closest allies by publicly exposing private messages and slapping tariffs without warning. From Europe to Britain, friendships are frying fast. But India chooses a different path altogether. So how did New Delhi avoid Trump's diplomatic traps? Here is a report by Rudrashish Kanjilal.
Beware, allies of the United States. And beware even more, the wannabe allies. Because when Donald Trump is angry, friendship offers no protection. On January 20th, two of America's closest partners learned that lesson the hard way. French President Emmanuel Macron and NATO Chief Mark Rutte. Private messages, confidential conversations, all made public by Donald Trump. Like a jilted ex-boyfriend, Trump exposed private chats as tensions flared over Greenland. No warning, no courtesy, just power on display. Hours later, Britain joined the list. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer had just been praising his special bond with Trump. Within hours, Trump called the UK's Chagos Islands deal an act of great stupidity. The message was brutal and unmistakable. Loyalty does not guarantee respect. Deals do not guarantee safety, and friendship does not buy restraint. And this is precisely where India quietly avoided the Trump trap. Since the new year, Trump has had his eyes locked on Greenland, emboldened, unapologetic, fresh from a shock regime change move in Venezuela that ended with the capture of President Nicolas Maduro. Europe watched in disbelief and responded with silence. But when Trump turned his sights on Greenland, European territory, the tone changed. Tariffs were threatened, up to 25%, on allies. That was Europe's rude awakening. When Trump wants something, he's not a friend, he's a businessman. The irony is staggering. The UK and 7 European partners were hit with tariffs, despite signed trade agreements, despite open markets, despite concessions. The truth was laid bare. Even signed deals do not insulate you from Trump's next move. Lesson 1: non-confrontation. India understood this early. Under Trump 2.0, tariffs are not economic tools alone. They are political weapons, geopolitical levers, personal pressure tactics. And yet, despite being slapped with a crushing 50% tariff, India did not rush into a trade deal. The warning signs came in May 2025. Trump claimed he stopped the India-Pakistan conflict using tariff threats. New Delhi immediately read between the lines. Trade was being weaponized, narratives were being manufactured. India firmly corrected Trump, saying the ceasefire came through direct military contact. Pakistan, in contrast, welcomed Trump's mediation. India stayed restrained. No public sparring, no personal attacks. Then came the June 17 phone call. PM Narendra Modi bluntly told Trump the US had no role in the ceasefire and refused to engage Trump's Nobel Peace Prize theatrics. The consequences were swift. Weeks later, Trump imposed 50% tariffs on India, including penalties for Russian oil purchases. Pakistan, just 19%. Strategic ties built over decades began to fray. Lesson 2: patience over haste. And yet, India did not blink. There was no angry press conferences, no social media wars, no megaphone diplomacy. This, even as Trump's aides hurled insults, calling India a Kremlin laundromat and accusing it of blood money. At the same time, Trump publicly praised PM Modi as a great and dear friend. India refused to play good cop, bad cop. New Delhi did not sign a lopsided trade deal. It did not open its sensitive farm and dairy sectors, and it did not stop importing Russian oil. But India also did not disengage. Behind the scenes, ministers like S. Jaishankar and Piyush Goyal kept channels open. Lesson 3: control the narrative. Perhaps India's smartest move was narrative control. After the June 17 call, PM Modi reportedly avoided phone calls from Trump. The US wanted a partial trade deal. India knew Trump's habit: exaggerate first, explain later. When the leaders finally spoke on September 17th, Modi's birthday, India ensured its version of events reached the world first. That is how you beat Trump at his own game. Europe didn't, and paid the price. India read Trump right, balanced restraint with resolve, never provoke, never surrender. That assessment was confirmed by US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who admitted the trade deal collapsed because PM Modi refused direct engagement with Trump. Even global experts agree. Tariff King Trump has no permanent friends, only permanent interests. India understood this early. Others are still catching up. With Rudrashish Kanjalal, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
Once seen as a fading relic of Britain's past, chimney sweeping is making an unlikely comeback. Rising energy costs, power fears, and a love for open fires are bringing the trade back to life. So why are more British homes reopening their chimneys now? Here's a report by Jyoti Shukla.
London going up in smoke. No, this isn't the Industrial Revolution. This is Britain in 2026. As energy bills soar and power security becomes a growing worry, London is going back to the old age. Across the UK, chimneys that lay dormant for decades are roaring back to life. Firewood is crackling, smoke is rising, and the energy crisis is literally reshaping the British skyline. High energy prices, volatile global markets, and fears over electricity supply are forcing British households to rethink how they heat their homes. According to a report by the New York Times, many families are turning to wood-burning stoves and fireplaces. Not for nostalgia, but for survival. This shift has sparked an unexpected revival of a near-forgotten profession, chimney sweeping. The National Association of Chimney Sweeps says its membership has jumped to around 750, up from just under 600 in 2021, as demand spikes across the country. Industry leaders say the reason is simple. With energy bills unpredictable and geopolitical tensions threatening supply chains, households want backup plans. As one industry official told the New York Times, people want the ability to heat their homes and even cook food if electricity supplies fail. For family-run chimney businesses that survived decades of decline, business is booming again, especially during winter. Sweeps say demand rises every time there's economic stress or an energy shock. But this isn't the soot-covered world of the 1800s. Today's chimney sweeping uses CCTV cameras, drones, and industrial vacuum systems. The dangerous practice of sending children up chimneys was banned in Britain back in 1875, and modern safety standards are far stricter. Still, the comeback comes with a cost. Environmental groups warn that wood-burning stoves release fine particulate matter known as PM 2.5, which can damage lungs and increase the risk of heart disease. The concern is serious enough that England banned the sale of most traditional domestic coal in 2023, while allowing only approved smokeless fuels. The government now advises annual chimney inspections and cleaner burning alternatives to limit air pollution. Yet, despite tighter rules, demand keeps rising. So as Britain battles an energy crunch and a cost of living crisis, the question remains, is this a short-term survival tactic or the beginning of a smoky return to the past? With Jyoti Shukla, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
US President Donald Trump has floated a bold new idea on the global stage, a powerful board of peace aimed at ending wars and rebuilding conflict zones. Unveiled at Davos, it's already sparking debate worldwide. But what exactly is this board of peace? Here's a report by Shaurik Saha.
US President Donald Trump has unveiled a bold and controversial idea, a brand new board of peace. Trump says this new body will succeed where the United Nations has failed, ending wars, rebuilding conflict zones, and delivering what he calls real results. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Trump criticized the UN for never living up to its potential, even as he insisted it should continue to exist. So, what exactly is this board of peace? The board is being launched alongside Trump's Gaza ceasefire and reconstruction plan, but its ambitions go much further.
In another great victory for the ultimate goal of peace in June, we obliterated Iran's... And I've been very clear that Hamas must return that last remaining deceased hostage as well, and that will be the full commitment. And then we get on to other things, and we're committed to ensuring Gaza is demilitarized, properly governed, and beautifully rebuilt. I don't think they watch television or the news. But we've taken out almost... It's going to be a great plan, and that's where the Board of Peace really started. And I think we can spread out to other things as we succeed with Gaza. We're going to be very successful in Gaza. It's going to be a great thing to watch, and we can do other things. We can do numerous other things. Once this board is completely formed, we can do pretty much whatever we want to do, and we'll do it in conjunction with the United Nations. You know, I've always said the United Nations has got tremendous potential, has not used it. Yeah, every one of them is a friend of mine. A couple. On the 8 wars that I ended, I never spoke to the United Nations about any of them. And you would think that I should have. You would think they could have done those 8 wars, but they couldn't have. And they tried, I guess, in some of them, but they didn't try hard enough.
It's designed as a standing group of select countries tasked with mediating conflicts, funding reconstruction, and coordinating security guarantees. Trump himself will chair the board, with sweeping powers over its direction and membership. Participation reportedly comes with a price, up to $1 billion for permanent membership. Several countries, including Israel, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Egypt, and Pakistan, have agreed to join. others, such as France, Norway, and Sweden, have said no. India, Germany, and Japan remain undecided. Notably, apart from the US, no permanent member of the UN Security Council has signed on so far. Experts say the board is unlikely to replace the United Nations. Critics warn it could undermine the UN's authority or even become a personal power project for Trump. The UN itself is playing it cool, saying countries are free to form their own groups and that its work will continue as mandated. Whether Trump's Board of Peace becomes a serious peacemaking force or just another geopolitical experiment remains to be seen. But one thing is clear, the global order is facing yet another major test. With Sharik Shah, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
As we wrap up today's show, here's a quick look at the top stories making waves around the world. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi dissolves parliament, calling a snap election next month to seek a fresh public mandate. New York police safely rescue a deer after it crashes through a window and gets trapped inside a bank. Bangladesh's major political parties began election campaigning ahead of February polls seen as a crucial test for democracy. BTS fans rush for tickets as the global supergroup announces its first world tour since completing military service. And that brings us to the end of today's edition of Namaste World. From breakthrough in technology and business to political developments and natural disasters. Stay tuned as we bring you the latest updates, key developments and more from New Delhi to New York. See you again tomorrow, same time, right here on Namaste World.